Spiritual direction is work of the Spirit. It is intended to be empowered, work that is energized and flowing. So why is it that spiritual direction work can often become flat? How is it that at those times we get the Spirit back into spiritual direction? So that's what I'd like to reflect on in this video today. But before I do that, I just want to acknowledge, pay homage to the artist who created this beautiful quilt behind me. It is a quilt that I have absolutely loved and am thrilled to use as a backdrop. And the artist is my wife, Melanie. So I just want to recognize her for her beautiful artistic work and thank her for providing a backdrop for my videos. So allowing the Spirit back into spiritual direction. In my early days of spiritual direction, I really cared about being a good spiritual director. I was warm, I did a lot of affirmation. I really cared about helping clients come into a new sense of self. And what I found is that in all of my work, I got really tired. I found that I worked hard in sessions to figure out what might help clients get to that next step, to experience the vitality of Spirit. And clients would come and go, and there was a lot of turnover with clients, and I was just finding it harder and harder to work. And eventually I made this discovery, and the discovery was that the problem was that I really cared. The problem, however, was that I was caring in the wrong way. Now, in the past 20 plus years, I've been working with spiritual directors and people in chaplaincy, doing training with these people. And I've come to see this very predictable phenomenon that sheds light on the problems that I was facing early in spiritual direction. The phenomenon is that there is this clear desire to help clients, to help patients, and people start working hard. But what happens is they have this strong sense of responsibility. They have this sense that it's all on me to make this session work, to help this patient, to move this client out of this stuck place. And it's this strong sense of responsibility that leads to this phenomenon that I've come to label as functional atheism. Now, I label it in part to just provoke people a little bit, but there's some deep truth to this. For when we find ourselves working really, really hard, it's as if all of the burden is on our shoulders. There's no other force or power that's with us in it all. We're carrying the burden all ourselves. And that heavy sense of responsibility is what leads us to be tired. It's all on me. My mind gets all tied up when I'm in this space, and the sessions tend to go flat. We have this sense that I've got to say the right thing, or I've got to be smart enough, or I really want the client to like me. Well, we all do this, and it's a human thing. The problem is it leads us into this space where we're no longer looking for guidance or help. And the spiritual air gets sucked right out of the room when we're working hard like that. So functional atheism is the sense that I've got to make this session work. And the question I have for you is, what if you believed that the effectiveness of a session was not your responsibility? Now really think about this question, take it in. What if you believed that it wasn't really up to you to make a session work? I remember when I was helping my little brother ride a bike. For the longest time, he just had fear of getting on the bike and starting to pedal. And finally, I assured him that I was going to be with him the whole way. I was going to hold the back of his gold Stingray, and I would guide him down the sidewalk as he was learning to ride the bike. And it was only when he really had a clear sense that I was right there with him that he was able to take off and start riding the bike. I think that sense that there is this presence right there with us is crucial for transforming a session from flat to flourishing. And I think there are three really phases that help us to bring vitality into a session, to bring spirit back into spiritual direction. The first of these phases is an awareness phase. And it's just waking up in this awareness to the reality that we're working really hard. We all do this. We want to be liked. We want to be effective. We want to say the right thing. It's a very human thing for the ego to do. And we have to catch ourselves when we start working hard. And when we catch ourselves and just become aware of that, we open up the door to the second phase, which is presence. From that place of working hard, we can drop into a deeper sense of ourselves where we slow down, where we relax. We take a deep breath, we quiet our mind, we open our heart, we relax our body. And in that presence, we shift the dynamic and the energy with the client. And that presence, that second phase, opens us to the third phase, which is guidance. From that quiet place of knowing, we open ourselves to a kind of listening to the divine who is there with us throughout the session, but is often kept at bay by our anxiety and our working hard. We allow the divine to speak through our heart, our intuitions, to speak through the thoughts that come into our minds. And in this guidance, the whole session shifts, the whole energy changes. There is spiritual air that's brought back into the room. It's brought back into us. And it often can be brought back into the client when they feel that we are present to them in a very different kind of way. This is where spiritual guidance work gets really exciting. This is where we move into flow. We move into a kind of ease. This is where there are those surprise things that come out of our mouth that really connect with clients. And what's so striking about these moments is that they are filled with ease. We're not efforting, we're not making it happen. We really are becoming a channel for a higher spirit to work through us. So this is the way that we allow spirit back into spiritual direction, by becoming aware of working hard, by moving into a deeper presence with ourselves and our clients, and from that place listening to higher guidance. Now I can hear you offering an objection, and it's an important one. And the objection is this: what about those clients that are stuck? What about a client that is really flat in spite of all of our efforts? Well, that's a common reality that we deal with in spiritual direction. And what I know is this: I know that my working hard is not going to unstick a client. It actually is often going to just keep things more stuck. And the only opportunity that I might have to bring life and spirit back into a client who is stuck is really to entrust them to their own knowing, entrust them to the higher guidance that enfolds them, and to trust that they are being held in ways that I'll never know. And I think that's the beautiful thing about this work. When we allow spirit back in, we function with this deep sense of trust, that it's not about us, it's not on us, but we are working with and through a higher guidance on behalf of our clients. And there's one more little parallel that I'd like to bring up, And that is this whole progression of moving into awareness, presence, and guidance is not only true for a client session, but it's true for our whole practice of spiritual direction. We so often work really, really hard to make our practices work. And there's a shift that happens when we realize that our practice is really something that's being guided by a higher power, by the divine. And when we entrust our practice to this guidance, it changes things. But that's a topic for another time. Now, in the next video I want to share, I want to talk about what does it mean to come from the real place in spiritual direction? Or in other words, what does it mean for you to become a little more sassy as a spiritual director? Until then, thanks for being a part of this video, and I wish you well on your work.